So I got a request today from a subscriber on our channel that needed a little help with getting his buttons to register with his arcade machine. So I figured why not do a step-by-step tutorial to get your buttons to work flawlessly on your arcade machine, and what better to do that with than the Brooks Universal Fighting Board. Now this board is very versatile. You can play anything from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 5, Xbox 360 to Xbox Series X and S, Wii U, Switch, PC, mini PC, and Raspberry Pi. The setup's super easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it all. So let's get into the video. This is the Brooks board right here, guys, and it comes in two variations. You have the open socket version and you have the pin connector version. Now I have the pin connector version right here, and that's probably the one you definitely should go with. You can get by without it. The difference is this right here. Okay, this is your pin connector, and it makes it so much easier because it comes with basically a harness hooks up to that with all your wires, and you're able to just plug and play everything to your controllers and your joystick. If you opt not to get this, I think it's a little cheaper, not by much, but it's only a small amount of money difference. Then you'd have to hook everything up here into your empty socket. And zoom this in, and each one's labeled. So you would unscrew the little screw there and then put the wire from the joystick to match whatever you want to match here. So just to give you an example, you'd have the ground, 4 kick, 3 kick. Each one, when it says 2K, 1K means kick, and when it says 4P, 3P, it means punch. Your start, select, and so forth. The ground, if you're running a stick, you put your controls over here, right, left, up, down, okay? And you make sure they're grounded. So, and with that also, you'd have to have your own wires. But if you opt to use the connector right here, you get a harness, and I'll show you the harness right now, that comes with everything you need to get started, okay? So the main part you have to focus with the fight board is, what I'm gonna show you today is just how to hook your harness up and how to wire it to your buttons. So if you look on the back, okay, just the back of the chipset. And right here, another thing you have to know is you have to use a USB-A, okay? So what the cable is gonna look like, and I'll show you the top, it's a cable that plugs into here with this fitting, and the other side has a USB 2.0, standard USB 2.0. So make sure you get the right cable for this adapter, all right? So that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna show you guys real quick how to hook it up. All right, guys, so this is the harness right here, and everything on it's color coded. Now, one thing to note when you're doing something like this, take your time and don't force anything. Once you break these pins off, it's no good. And you have to solder in another pin, and you don't want to do that. These boards run about generally $80 to $90. So maybe you can find, sometimes you can find them used, but there might be problems with them. So I just say brand new, they're $80 to $90. And why you want this in your control panel as opposed to something else is this thing is capable of playing PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Series X, Series S, Switch, and any kind of PC hookup, Steam Deck, anything like that. So this thing is very versatile, and once you buy one, you're good to go. If you have 2 players set up like I do, then you'll need 2 of them. So the first thing you want to do is hook your harness up, right? And you want to make sure you get it the right way. Now this can go on both ways. If you put it on backwards, it's not going to work, and you might even fry your board. Make sure you follow your instructions. So a telltale sign is, just remember like this, your joystick is right here. Here's your joystick, and here's the connectors for your joystick. If you look at the harness, okay, you're gonna have a breakout for that. And that's right here, okay? This part right here. This plugs into here, and you gotta make sure you get it the right way, okay? Because it'll go in both ways. If you put it in upside down, and you push up, you're gonna go down, and when you go down, you're gonna go up, okay? It's gonna invert your controls. So the way I remember it is, this side with this end, and the 2 black ground wires are gonna go all the way to the 19 and 20 pin point. So basically, if you're putting this on and you're watching me, the part with the controller stem is gonna go to the right. If you got the board sitting straight up where you can read it. So you put it in, and your 2 black ground wires should be on this end, on the left side. So never force it, just make sure you line it up, because one time I hooked this thing up, and if you don't have, I had it where it was like this, but 2 pins were still visible, and it kind of screwed everything up. So make sure you get a straight flush fit. Press it down firmly, but not enough to break it, okay? Because you want to ground this thing in one spot so it's not flopping all over the place. Now you can plug this in at the end if you like. I just find it easier if you do it like this, so that way everything's in order, okay? Now, the way this goes on, if the stick's facing up this way, so you can see the stick right here, okay? If it's facing up, you want this part to go straight in. So see how you got this top part right here? There's a little lip right here on the stick connector. Line it up nice and neat, and just don't force it, just push it in. and that top part's going to click over the top. So now your joystick is wired correctly. Next, we'll move over to your wires, and you have a whole bunch of them right here. Now, one thing to note with your harness, you're going to have a bunch of a daisy chain of black connectors, okay? And all these are little connectors that slide onto the connectors up here. So they're basically your connectors. This side, you have everything color coded, okay? And each one of these at the end each color represents a button. Now, how you got this plugged in is going to depend on what it does. This thing is set up a certain way, and you can map your buttons any way you want here, but just remember, however you connect it, that's what you're going to get. So going by color codings, each one is connected to a punch and a kick in your start and select button, okay? These are your top buttons up here to start and select. They have their own wiring. They're going to be white, gray, and a red color here, and those go to the start select button. You see it right here. They kind of got their own thing going. And every connector here you have is going to need one color, and it's going to need one ground, okay? If you don't have the ground on there, the button's not going to work. If you don't have one of these hooked on there with it, it's not going to work. So you have to have one of each on every button. That's why you got these two connectors on there, okay? These two connection points. All right, so we're going to wire this up. I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to do a couple of buttons for you, and then I'm going to fast forward it and just hook the rest on for you. So make sure you read your instructions to know what button goes to your punches and kicks. All right, so initially, I got the second player side already lined up to make it easy for us. Okay, and you can take a picture of it when it's done. So that way, if you're wiring up, you can see how I got mine color coded. I got mine set up all punches at the top. So the way mine's is set up: light punch, medium punch, hard punch, or jab, strong, fierce if you're old school. Light kick, medium kick, hard kick, short, forward, roundhouse, old school. And over here, I have the two extra buttons. So basically, if you're looking at a PlayStation controller, X, triangle, square, circle, like it would be, and then these are your L1, R1, L2, R2. But you can interchange these if you like. I just got mine set up because that's how it works. Whenever I'm playing something, that's generally how they work out. But you can play with these and change them around, whatever comfortable for you. Or you can change, if you're playing a game, you can change it in the settings. But I'm going to wire mine up just like that: L1, R1, L2, R2. So the first one, if we look at this one over here, we know that the blue is going to be the 1P button. So we'll find the blue in this harness configuration here. And we have blue right here. And how you can kind of tell you're on the right track. See how this thing is where it's like different lengths. It starts off small. This one's a little longer. This one's longer. This one's the longest. That's so it'll fit with your Relux machine. Now you can do this on a regular arcade. Now if you have an arcade 1-up that you're modifying, or an arcade machine and you're putting Universal Brooks converter in there, you can follow the same tutorial and it'll work for that, because the tutorial is about hooking up the converter. So you can put this in any arcade machine you want. All right, so we know it's blue. So, and when you put them on here, it doesn't really matter which one you put it on for this particular set of buttons. And what I mean by that is I got blue. I'm going to put blue on here and push it in snug, but don't force it because you'll break it. Okay, once you break it, you need a new transistor, and now you got to wait. And then unless you got some spare buttons laying around, you're kind of screwed. So make sure you put it on to where it stays on, but you don't have to force it. All right, so you can do it one of two ways. Now I'm going to show you I'm going to do the top level, and make sure you don't get confused with the tops and the bottoms. So the blue one goes up here for your punch. Okay, now I'm going to do this top row. And when I do the bottom, I'm going to do them together. So first, we're going to do these buttons up top without the ground, okay? Just so we can kind of get a feel of what we're doing. So you got red next, goes on the button right next to it. Just push it on like that. You got gray, okay? And basically the way it comes, these are all your kicks. And your bottom buttons, it already comes like this, the harness. These are all your kicks, these are all your punches. Now, if you want to invert them, you can. If you want your punches or kicks at the bottom, you can do it any way you want. Just know where you're putting it and what button's going to do what. I'm doing mine in a traditional way. Gray goes next. And remember how I showed you that how it's kind of spaced out? Now, if you see right here, you can see how all this fits, how long this is. Short,
a little longer, and that's so it will make sure it makes contact with all the buttons for this setup. The bottom, same thing with the bottom. Now, right now, I can hook the black ones to them because I only got the power buttons going to them. I need a ground for these buttons to work. So this long daisy chain I got right here, okay, you can do it one or two ways. You can put it at the bottom and go from the bottom and make your way to the front, okay, and that's probably what I'll do here, or you can do it from the top. And what I mean is, so these are all going to go in their own separate transistor. So to show you what I'm doing, I'm just putting it on the other side. And if you get it wrong, if you put the ground on this side and the power color-coded wire on this side, it's still going to work. So we're just going to put them on this side. And how it's daisy chained, goes all the way across. And then you got this top part. Now, you can elect to do a couple of different things. In my setup, I'm not using these two buttons to start and select. My start and select's up here. You can't see it off camera, but I have a customized layout for my control panel. You don't have to do that. Generally, if you get it, it's going to come with just the start and select button you're using. And you can even, if you're short on buttons, if you opt for the 6 configuration, you can change these buttons to have an LR, L2. You can make that your start and select. Because if you're playing any kind of game, you have to have your start and select on there, right? You can also opt to make those last two buttons whatever you want them to be, start, select, and your menu buttons. So you can have the start button be your menu, start, select, and then your fighting buttons. Okay, you always want to have at least 6 dedicated to fighting. These other 2 you can play with. Now, if you have something customized like I do, up top I got 3 more buttons that I can wire stuff to. So I can actually make these start and select. But I just leave this alone because the wires don't reach as far as I'd like. I'm not a big fan. So we're going to finish up here. Your grounds are going to go on. And it's a perfect fit. All right. Perfect fit. And now we're going to do the kicks. All right. And the same principle applies. See how they're all shaped? They all got this one's long, a little longer, a little bit longer, a little longer up here. How they're all like that. So same principles apply in case you forget the color coding scheme. All right. But you can always pause this video, take a look, and make sure you're getting it right if you're having problems with your setup. So these just go on like that. The last one. Okay, now everything's set up now. One thing to note that I didn't show you before I had it plugged in, this right here, your USB-A cable, it goes right in the side, just like that. And what this part right here goes to is your controller, okay? So, or whatever you're plugged into. If right now I got to hook to a PlayStation 4, so and you can put let's say this is a short cable, you can get a USB extender and you'll be just fine if it doesn't go all the way through your machine. I just opted for some really long ones, but if you got a short one laying around, you can get a USB extender and extend it to this and reach whatever you're trying to reach. Okay, so if you got it underneath, I got my PlayStation 4 off to the side. I'm just showing you guys in this video, but that's pretty much it. Now, we're gonna go over, so we're gonna check it now, see if it works, and I'll show you some of the functionality that you have out the gate. Make sure, and also as well, make sure you update this that's running with the latest firmware. And what you do is you got to go to the Universal Brooks website, and they'll have firmware updates. Basically, instead of plugging this into your controller, you'll plug this into your computer and follow the on-screen prompts to update your board. Okay, so when it comes, it might not be fully updated, and you want all the functionality out of it. So I'm going ahead and close this up, and then I'm going to show you guys that it's working and some of the functionalities that you have with this particular board. Oh, and before I do that, I also want to tell you that you can leave it loose like this. Now, I took this one loose to show you guys in the video, or you can get some double-sided tape and kind of secure it in place, because you really don't want these flying around in here. I mean, they're not going to be moving too much, but you want to secure these so that way they don't get caught up under the mechanism, the key mechanism or anything like that, where you're pinching the wires or potentially damaging your board. So you want to kind of have it secure in one spot. So I just got double-sided tape on mine. This one I got to secure back down, and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to close this up real quick. And when you close this, another thing, if you're using a Chulix machine like I have right here, Chulix, make sure you're very gentle when you close this. Make sure you take a look here where you can see that everything's probably in good standing order. It's not going to get crushed. You don't want to just slam this thing shut and break your board. You want to be very gentle, make sure the wires aren't going anywhere, and make sure the wires aren't getting cut aren't getting caught in the mechanism. So that's one of the main reasons I was saying that you want to secure it in place so that way it doesn't fly around and get crushed or something like that. Once you break the board, it's useless. So just make sure you close it up real easy. Don't force it, and then turn your key and lock it, and you're good to go. All right, guys, at this point, we're going to test our controllers, make sure everything's working. We had to update the PlayStation because I haven't played it in a minute. We're just going to do true and try Street Fighter 6. It's a very simple game, easy to understand. Start. So our PlayStation controller, we're hooked to it as a PlayStation 4, so our control scheme's working so far. We're going to test it out in the test mode. You can see it's working. Training stage. We're gonna pick Chun-Li because why not? Chun-Li's just freaking cool. And we'll do Lily. All right, so we're at the training stage. Okay, so everything's working. We can move in all directions. Jab, strong, fierce, short, forward, roundhouse. Our share button if we want to take pictures or you're streaming or whatever. All right, we'll come out of that. And then you got your menu button. I got mine set to the top, so if we can go to the menu for whatever reason. So everything's working, guys. So right now I'll show you, if it's not working, some things you can do. So I'm gonna show you guys real quick what might happen if you plug your USB into your console and it's not registering. One of the problems might be, it might be set up for another console. So I'm gonna show you guys how to fix that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in PlayStation 3 mode. This is the PlayStation 4 and it's not gonna register. Then I'm gonna go back to the PlayStation 4 mode. So PlayStation 4 mode is 2P, PlayStation 3 is 1P. So what happens is, if I unplug this, right now I can register, I can move. If I unplug this, and I hold down 1P for PlayStation 3, and I plug it back in, while I'm holding it down, it's not gonna move, right? So if I got it plugged in, it's not moving. So what you wanna do now is set it back in the PlayStation 4 mode. So the way mine's is set up, PlayStation 4 is 2P. So I want to hold it in, plug this back in while I'm holding it in. And now I should be good to go, right? But check this out. It's still not working. Don't get discouraged. What you have to do is like a regular PlayStation controller. What you've done is reset it like a PlayStation 4 controller. So when you plug a PlayStation 4 controller in, you have to push your touchpad button. That's wired up here. Hold this in, now it's working, now it's gonna register. So if you plug it in, it's not working, don't think that it didn't work. It did work, but you have to activate it like you normally would a PlayStation 4 controller, and that throws a lot of people off. So make sure wherever you got your share button hooked up, you're able to press that, and then you'll get your responsive controls. So if you want to change this, you'd have to check the actual settings, but each one of these buttons represents a system. I just know that PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, I can't remember where the rest of them go, but you can check the diagram for clarification. And that's pretty much it with this, guys. So I'm gonna show you real quick, guys, how to change your joystick over to DP, the digital pad, or LS or RS. And all you have to do is hold the start button or options where you got set. I got mine set here, okay? I'm not gonna change it because I don't wanna change mine, but what you would do is, if this isn't responding for some reason, even if all the buttons are for the right system, you can hold this up here, the start button, hold it in for 3 seconds and push a direction that corresponds with the diagram, and you just hit left and right like this, hold the start button and the direction for 3 seconds, and it will change it to LS, RS, or DP. Now, remember, once you change it, it's gonna stay that way until you change it back. So if you're playing a shmup that requires that, make sure you change it back. So that's pretty much it from start to finish setup, basic operation of your Brooks Universal Fight Controller.
So that was just a quick rundown, guys, of the Brooks Universal Fight Board. The installation is pretty easy, and what makes this thing so cool is that it lets you play anything from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 5, Xbox 360 to Xbox Series X, your PC, any kind of PC-like emulation machine you might have, Raspberry Pi, Switch, whatever. This thing's gonna play it no problem. Just make sure you update it, and make sure when you're doing your installation that you're very gentle and very thorough, and make sure you memorize where your buttons are. And if you're getting buttons in the wrong place, all you have to do, you don't really have to switch the grounds, you really just have to switch the color-coded wires to go to the button that you want. So pretty simple. And I made this video for a few people that were asking how to set up a universal fighting board. So if you guys want to know how to set up like a JAMA harness or something like that, or some type of wires, if it's in my knowledge, I can make a video about it. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. And as always, a subscription and like is always welcome. And make sure to smash that notification bell so that way you don't miss any type of arcade related news on this channel. So as always, take care of yourself, protect you in peace, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one.